Okay, so we're back after the break.
Awesome.
For TV land, everyone's just watched, a few adverts, but for us, we got to share some kai together.
Right.
We got to talk. We broke up into little groups. This is more than just entertainment podcasts, right?
Absolutely.
This is us spending time together. That's the theme that came through our group. What's some highlights from what you guys were talking about?
Well, the biggest highlight for me was obviously meeting Morris. He came across as being he tended to say that he was obviously a little bit out of his depth, and his wife is the driving force behind the kaupapa, and also with Quinn Tumai from Iconics, and he said the same thing. So it was a bit of a collective of two contrasting businesses, one in construction and one in the finance sector. So yeah,
awesome. And shout outs to Group 4. That was our group. They had to put up with me dripping my pizza oil all over the table. But look, we raised a couple of good things in our group, which is like some of the things we're doing haven't been really done.
right.
You don't have people you can go to ask for sound advice because the world is moving at such a rate. And look, culture, I think it's built in us. We're fine. But when it comes to this other world where people are looking at you waiting, I think those are the things that tonight represents, that everyone is like, oh, we got this, because we've got to be together, and that's how it was. So look, in that we will offer that there's this mic here, okay? And I guess before everyone's like, I ain't doing that, think what it represents, right? It represents us owning what we say. It represents you being up here without anyone pointing, saying you've got to say this. So we want someone to come up, and I'm happy to nominate, but I would like the person. Okay, there we go. T, come in the middle. Nice. Look, just before T starts, I love this man. He's got some energy, but T fasts all day, so he can have one meal in the evening. So the reason he's happy is because he's fed, and that's why you're here. So T, just a little 30-second intro on who you are, brother.
Kia ora, my name is Tiomika. I hail from Ngāti Whātua, and I work in the technology space, and I actually came up so I could move closer to the pizza.
That's awesome. Just give us a little synopsis of your group. What was the feeling within?
So I suppose it started off, the initial feeling was around just keeping things simple, but one of the big things that resonated throughout the discussion was just knowing your strengths and knowing that if you have a partner, you work with your partner, not against your partner. That was a strong thing that came through, but also a willingness to not only do what you do in terms of business, but do what you do in terms of educating or using your business to educate your people. And that was those were the three resounding things that came from our group.
I wonder why they sound so normal when you hear it, but it's so hard to do. Is it because that isn't what is taught when we talk about business, when we talk about success, that valuing somebody for who they are, what they do, is as important as anything else, right?
I think success or business comes with that sort of story like, I've got to trample on people to get to the place that I'm going, and if you're in my way, then get out. Whereas opposed to, I suppose, the Māori Pacific way of looking at it is, how can we do this together? And now we're trying to take that next step, that once we've done things together, to sort of celebrate that and talk about that and share those stories to sort of uplift all of us. Yeah.
You got anything to?
Yeah. With regards to what we touched on previously with Stanley and Kristen, my upbringing in regards to business from a celebratory perspective is whakama, Māori being whakama and being very, very humble in regards to their upbringing. I think that is probably one of the biggest things that I was taught when I was growing up from my grandmother. I was whāngai by my grandmother, and she taught me everything right up until the day she passed. So she was my mother and my father. So I think the reasons why majority of Māori who I was surrounded with when I was growing up and coming through the ranks is that I never had a clear direction in regards to whether I was going to go into entrepreneurship or Māoripreneurship. It was always an opportunity that you was either going to go and work at the Marsden Point refinery or you were going to go and do this. So it wasn't necessarily media. That was primarily my goal.
Which is all good, by the way.
So yeah. No disrespect to the whānau and friends that are still up home. But I think that's the reason why. Māori being very, very humble in their approach and their upbringing.
T, can we just hold that point there? Let's say some stuff out loud. We're very good at thinking in here. Let's define what it means not to be arrogant, but to be competent. Because if we don't talk about that, then we don't know where we are in it, right? So you're a good example, T. You know, I don't find you arrogant at all, but I find you fully focused, and it could come across.
Yeah, well, it's funny that we're talking about this point, because what I found is, I'm just going to chuck it out there. I've just come from a psychotherapist, and I've just had a conversation around how I'm silently arrogant. You just don't see it. So I present myself in a way where it looks like, hey, I'm trying to help all you out and do things for you, but really I'm doing it for my own good, and I'm doing it for this thing called gratification.
And going to a break right now.
Yeah. And so I really wanted to put that one out there because I now know the difference.
Right.
The difference is doing it from up here as opposed to doing it from here.
Right. Okay.
And I operate from here. I have this, but then there are times, and she helped me identify the space here and goes, how'd that feel? Amazing. And you feel that difference.
Okay.
And so, I just had to let that out there just so I can set the platform for
thank
what
you.
the next thing was.
No, because we have to acknowledge those things. They're not things you can grab and touch and hold. They're things you have to work through in real time. So, look, it's very interesting, and I hope it's igniting everyone to want to express this, because I feel like, you know, because we're standing up here not reading a teleprompter, all we got is each other, by the way, as we always did have and as we always will have. And you can lie and say people in your ear tell me what to say, like I see on most telly, or you can just stick to the old stuff. But right now, it's just us. So, okay, T, well, let's jump then into the Shark Tank part. I want you to pitch me something so far forward that you're going to have to really work at getting it. You know, what's that projection? People talk about projection. People talk about this is where we're going to be in 20 years. And I feel like that's the thinking I want to be doing, the strategic, long-term. So where are you going to be in 20 years?
In 20 years?
Because
that puts me in where I actually need to get there. That's 2040?
Good enough.
Yeah, 2040, 20 plus 20. 40. In 20 years, I should be operating from the space a lot. And by me operating from this space, I should be able to solve the problem of wealth distribution. Like, there's not an issue with wealth in the world, it's just the way it's distributed. So what I mean by that is I should be in a position where I'm perpetually generating this amount of money per month to throw it over here. And what I see over here are problems, but there's already solutions in this space. I don't need to reinvent the solution, it's already there. I just need to help fund the people that are already doing the good things that they do. So that's where I see myself. I want to take it a bit further though.
Yes.
At the moment, the world is all on technology, AI, and all of that stuff. The thing that is going to separate us from what we call traditional tech will be spirit tech. And what I mean about spirit tech is magnifying what we call wairua and being able to develop the technologies that detect and are able to monitor the space that we seem to neglect. Because as you well know, what we define as reality is only 0.0001 something percent that we can detect with what we have within us, with what we have in the technology around us. So we're missing out on 99.9999 and all the 9% of what's actually happening here. Now, our histories as Māori and Pacifica already define these things, but because we can't repeat it, we can't call it science. But I believe that that's going to change in the future.
Whoa, well, you threw us far forward. Look, because that's what I want too, right? We've got to be thinking to that level. How do you measure something? I mean, we are measuring it here tonight, right? We know exactly what to do with a bunch of our people in the same space.
Yeah.
We know exactly what to do. And so you just got to find a way to measure that. And maybe the journey is to realise maybe you shouldn't measure some things. You just go in and eat some pizza and have a fun chat. Yeah, bro. Any
Dude, I'm just going to be really simple. Hopefully retired wealthy. Spend time with my family and my mokopuna. And that's basically it. 20 years, that's primarily where I see myself. Back home too. Back home. So.
Do you think that was the original goal of people who set us down this path? And I mean our ancestors.
It's a tough one. I know that my grandmother had visions for me in regards to being successful in regards to what I wanted to pursue. I know that she wanted me to go home and do a whole lot of mahi for our iwi, and I eventually will do that, but not at this point in time. But yes, to answer your question, I held it.
Awesome. So look, we're going to take another little break here. We can decide how we want to roll this, but I feel like it's more of this, all right? Let's just keep talking. We're with each other. Let's get as much of the wairua happening, and then let's work out how we can measure that. I mean, we kind of are, right? Because it's being transferred onto the telly. Right. People can feel that. So awesome. Stay with us, and we'll be back in a sec.